All right, YouTubers. Hello, everybody. All right, TikTok is ready to go too. TikTok going live. Pretty much ready on everything today. A couple minutes late, I guess, but All right, there we go. Boom. Excellent. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here. Hello, Thursday, April 17th. YouTube, Discord, TikTok. How are we all doing today? Hey, Ronak. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Nick. Ian, we got Dave, Street Rat, Mac, Manda, Andre, salut, K9, everybody. I can't say there's too many people now. I can't say everybody. But welcome, guys. It goes, Jeff. It goes. No, just another bit. It's another not great news day. Gotta warn you. There is Ukraine news, but the rest of the news, it's bad news day. Very bad news day. CJC, thank you, Nick. Just more, tyranny. It's very bad. A court today slapped down Trump very hard. A conservative judge on the court, actually, which was shocking and really good. Maybe not shocking, but very good. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Devin, Bjorn, Hazel. Really crazy stuff. I know. Let's see if YouTube acts up today. You know how that goes. So, Actually, I'm going to try to lower this camera a touch because then there's at least a greater chance of me looking into the camera. It's hard because the camera comes from behind. Actually, the camera needs to be at this height anyway. For you guys, it's okay. Actually, even for you guys, for TikTok, my camera should be at this level. Typically, you want the camera at your eye level like that. Mine's a little bit lower. YouTube, same thing. YouTube, actually, the camera is at my eye level, but it makes it a little harder because when I'm looking at the screen, I'm looking down. But the irony is for YouTube or Discord, when I'm looking down, I'm actually looking at you, so to speak. So anyway, thank you for the gifts there, Big Hawk. Others I saw, MWB, Carol, Sharon, Heather. Oh, my God, and then a ton of you. Okay, I can't go through all of you. Thank you, guys. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for the gifts. So, we've got a lot of Trump news. Some Ukraine news, but there's a lot of bad Trump news today. Just a reminder, Saturday morning is our coffee talk. Oh, that's interesting. That's possible. Madonna Bear. I called you Madonna. I told people TikTok was going to be tough on folks lately, enforcing their rules very strictly. So, thank you, Chazek. Thank you, Marsha. So, so Saturday morning is my coffee talk, or coffee talk, as we say for the TikTokers. It's the hangout I do for the paid monthly subscribers on TikTok, Discord, YouTube. Anybody who's a monthly subscriber on TikTok, you'll know because you've got SNN next to your name, like Blue and S-Lyn and Manda and some of the others. On Discord, it's anybody whose name is a color other than white. And on YouTube, it's anybody whose name is green. You guys are all invited for the Saturday show. I do it as a thank you for the paid monthly subscribers. I do an extra show on Saturday. We hang out. It's nice. It's a very casual hangout. I don't prepare the news and that kind of stuff like I do for today. All right, let's get rolling, guys. So yes, I'm John Aravosis. Welcome. This show, we go through the latest news from the U.S. We go through the latest news from the war in Ukraine. My background is U.S. politics, journalism. I'm a lawyer. I've got a Georgetown law degree. I've got international relations master's from Georgetown as well. So I try to go through the news and give you guys a sense of somebody who's been in D.C. for far too long, give you a sense of what's actually going on behind the news. Let's get rolling. So a federal appeals court ripped Donald Trump very badly today, or goodly. This is the case of the man Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, who is the thank you, Shannon, for subscribing, who is the El Salvadoran citizen living in the United States, living in the state of Maryland, father, and the Trump administration illegally kicked him out of the country. Thank you for the Colorful Wings adventure. Trump illegally, and there's no debate about this. This is not a question of law that we're investigating. Donald Trump's administration illegally kicked this man out of the U.S. There was a court order saying you cannot kick this man out of the U.S. The Trump people ignored the court order and kicked him out. That's a crime. It's a felony. The Trump people then basically refused to bring the guy back. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, you've got to facilitate bringing this guy back. The Trump people ignored the U.S. Supreme Court. It now has gone back to the appellate court in Virginia. A judge who is a Republican, very conservative judge wrote the opinion today, slapping down the Trump administration on this issue. This is kind of fascinating. I'm going to give you like the overview, and then I'm going to read you this because I'm going to read you three or four paragraphs. It's an amazing opinion, and it's actually a very accessible. I mean, I am a lawyer, but this is a very accessible opinion. The judge wrote this for the American people, I would say. It was intentionally written in a way that we could all understand. I will summarize what the judge said. What the judge said was this. Some of you say this guy was a terrorist. Some of you say he was a father of three or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It actually not even doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. In America, we follow the rule of law. And the rule of law said you can't kick this guy out, and you did anyway. And the rule of law said you had to bring the guy back, and you didn't. You refused. That is all that matters in America. The Republicans, Trump, especially Trump and his MAGA people, are playing this game of, but he was a bad guy. First of all, we don't know if he was a bad guy. We really don't. Their proof is not great on him being a bad guy. The most recent courts have said there's no real proof. But put it aside. In America, in contrast to Russia and China, for example, it doesn't matter if you're a bad guy. You get justice. You get to go through the court system. You get constitutional rights. The government cannot just throw you in prison and kick you out of the country. Exactly. It's called due process. You know, it's funny, Sam. I was looking for due process in my head, and for some reason, the phrase went out of my head. It's very funny. Sam said it. It's due process. Not that people know what due process is. Due process means there are a lot of protections in the system and a process that the government is supposed to go through. And every citizen, every human being in the country, not just citizen, is entitled to the rights given to him via this process. And the government cannot circumvent the rules, the process that it is supposed to follow when it deals with you. They circumvented the rules. Any case, too bright. Well, you can come back in 2 hours when the sun is gone, but I'm not going to be here either. So not a hell of a lot we can do about the sun being bright. Sorry. Let me read you the court's opinion. This is amazing. 3-judge panel, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit in Virginia, written by a very conservative justice. Okay. It is difficult in some cases to get to the very heart of the matter, but in this case, it's not hard at all. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. Further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, meaning the Trump administration is claiming, oh, well, we kicked him out. We don't have him anymore. We sent him to a torture prison in El Salvador. We don't have him anymore. Oh, well, the court said, the government claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, that there is nothing that can be done. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. The government asserts that Abrigo Garcia is a terrorist and a member of the M13 gang. Perhaps, perhaps not. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process, meaning he has constitutional rights like everybody else. You've got to prove it. You've got to go through the process. You can't just say he's a terrorist. You've got to prove he's a terrorist before you kick him out. This is a very conservative judge. Let me read more. The executive possesses enormous powers to prosecute and to deport, but with powers come restraints. If today the executive meaning the president, claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? That was a great point. He's saying, if Trump is willing to break the law to go after foreigners in our country, what's stopping him from breaking the law to go after Americans? He's saying, oh, gosh, in violation of the law, we gave this person to a torture prison in El Salvador. Oh, well. And the court's saying, a conservative judge is saying on the court, what is to stop Donald Trump from doing this to an American citizen? He takes an American citizen he doesn't like, he sends them to a torture prison in El Salvador, and then Trump says the same thing he's saying now. Well, gosh, the guy's already in the torture prison in El Salvador. What more can I do? Right? That guy gets blocked, by the way, Blue. That guy doesn't just get muted, he gets blocked. Anybody who claims misinformation or anything like that gets blocked immediately, just so we know. And by the way, since I can see the Trump trolls are getting very upset, I'm reading to you a conservative Republican court justice of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 4th District, one of the top judges in the country who's a conservative Republican. So let's keep reading from our conservative Republican justice. All right. Beep, 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 beep. Yes, if today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? And what assurance shall there be that the executive will not train its broad discretionary powers upon its political enemies? The threat, even if not the actuality, would always be present, and the executive's obligation to take care that the laws be faithfully executed would lose its meaning. This conservative Republican judge today is warning that the Trump administration may use these tactics against Democrats. And what legally could they do to stop Trump if Trump claims it's okay for him to do this to immigrants he doesn't like? Why couldn't he do it to Americans? Why couldn't he do it to Democrats? This is a conservative Republican judge. He says, we yet cling to the hope that it is not naive to believe that our good brethren in the executive branch perceive the rule of law as vital to the American ethos. This is good stuff. Now, again, good luck stopping Donald Trump, but it's a pretty damn big deal that a Republican judge, a conservative Republican judge, is admonishing Donald Trump and basically suggesting that he's acting like, well, he's acting very un-American, and he's suggesting things that are the kind of things a police state might do to American citizens, and that he's openly warning that Trump could do this to Americans. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty freaking amazing. Don't know the judge's name. You got it. You can Google it. I've got the court case on my. Hold on, I can pull it up if we have to. One sec. Actually, I think let me see. I've got the judge's name on here. I don't want to take too much time for this, but I had just sent it to my nephew, so I should have. Where is this? Yes, U.S. court case. Let me look really quick. For you, I look. I normally don't want to take this much time. Judge Wilkinson wrote the opinion. All right, let's keep going. So speaking of turning on your political enemies, Donald Trump is full bore trying to destroy Harvard University now. Quite literally. I mean, quite literally, they're trying to destroy Harvard. Guys, I'm going to talk about this story in a second, but let's talk about this more generally. How does it benefit America to destroy our premier, pretty much our top university in the country? I mean, really, right? Let's face it. We all have a jealousy thing about Harvard, Harvard, right? I didn't go there. I'm from Chicago. I'm not Northeast, but let's face it. We also know Harvard's pretty damn good, right? I mean, we're all jealous of Harvard. We all kind of snicker and go, Harvard, yeah, right? But we all know Harvard's pretty damn good. Why would we think it benefits the American people and the country of America to destroy Harvard and make it go away, to financially destroy it? I don't understand this. This is what Trump is doing, however. It's actually, that's a good point. Deb just said because Obama graduated Harvard. That is entirely possible that's the reason here. Trump is now doing multiple things to try to just literally destroy Harvard. As you know, last week, the Trump administration demanded that Harvard really adopt some, I'm not even sure how to phrase this. Trump made a number of demands of Harvard that was the kind of thing the Soviet government would have demanded of its people, the kind of things the Chinese Communist government would have demanded of its people, and especially the Chinese Communist government during the Cultural Revolution, which was a horrific period of, I want to say millions were killed by the Chinese during the Cultural Revolution. They basically went after all the intellectuals. Glasses. If you wore glasses, they killed you. I mean, it was that insane what these guys did because they so hated intellectuals, right? And they wanted to consolidate the power of the Communist Party. Thank you for the gift there, Courtney. Trump is trying to destroy Harvard because he demanded that, among other things, Harvard give him the names of any foreign students who violate any of Harvard's student code. In other words, you're caught drinking in a dorm, and they would have to report you to the government, and the government would deport you. You're smoking in a school building. They would have to deport you. Anything that is a violation of school policy, Harvard, they wanted Harvard to report you to the federal government so they could deport you. Harvard said, no, we're not going to like report our students to the government for things that aren't even crimes. Are you insane? Another thing he wanted to do, and this was straight out of 1984, Trump wanted each department at Harvard. So each, the classics department, the Latin, the French department, the English department, right? Literature department. They wanted every department at Harvard to appoint an outside overseer, basically MAGA, somebody MAGA, who would come in and do an investigation of just how MAGA this department is or isn't. And if the department wasn't MAGA enough, they were going to force them to hire MAGA people in the department, each department. Now, again, the French department at Harvard has to be sufficiently MAGA. What does that mean, right? Like, what does that mean? There aren't enough MAGA people in the, you know what I mean? Like in the biology department? What does that mean? Harvard said no. Harvard said no. Well, what did Trump do as a result? He tried to pull, at the very least, $300 million in funding. Now they're trying to make it several billion dollars in funding of grants from the government and all this. By the way, some of the right-wing talking points about Harvard has been, they've got a lot of money. Why are we giving them grants? You know why we're giving them grants? Because there's a lot of research that nobody would do unless the federal government financed it, because it's not really lucrative. Harvard and other universities, not just universities, forget the pharmaceutical companies, right? The immunology companies, all these guys, right? There's a lot of research that wouldn't happen unless the federal, there's Alzheimer's research going on, for example, that would not happen if the federal government didn't fund it. And the federal government gives money to universities to specifically do research that nobody would do. That's what Trump is killing by going after. In any case, so Trump is pulling all the money from Harvard that he can for scientific research to save you and me. The next step, we found out last night, the Internal Revenue Service, which is our tax agency here in America. Thank you for the gifts, guys, on TikTok. I appreciate it. I'm not stopping because I'm kind of on a roll here. This is an important story, so I'm trying to not get off track, but please keep the gifts coming. I do see them. Thank you. Trump, last night, CNN and a number of the Washington Post, other reporters confirmed the story that the Internal Revenue Service, which is our tax agency here in America, has decided already that they are going to remove Harvard's tax-exempt status because Donald Trump told them to. Organizations like schools, churches, other things like that are not for-profit entities, right? That are public good entities, are tax-exempt. I mean, they still have to pay taxes on certain things, but they don't have to pay taxes like you and I do or a big business would. Taking away their tax-exempt status would make them liable for potentially billions of dollars of taxes. I mean, crazy punishment. It would destroy them as a university. Trump not only demanded that the IRS go after Harvard, who he sees as his political enemy, but he's ordered the IRS to do it, which is incredibly illegal on multiple levels, right? A, you don't go after your political enemies with the tax law, right? And remove their tax status. B, you don't order the IRS to do it. The IRS has a process for doing it. Well, then we found out this morning. This is why I'm saying they are literally trying to destroy Harvard now. And by the way, what comes next is Stanford, University of Chicago, University of Pennsylvania, University of Illinois, where I went. Every university across the country, they're going to do this too. This isn't about Harvard. This is about going after the intellectuals. This is part of a larger strategy. And again, it harkens back to the Cultural Revolution. It harkens back to what the Soviets did. It is about, I read a conservative last night saying this on Twitter. It is about controlling every aspect of the culture. Okay? It is about it is about controlling every aspect of the culture. It's about controlling the universities, the thought, the people educated for the next generation. It's about scaring the lawyers. He's going after all the lawyers, so the lawyers will not challenge him in court. So the lawyers will not go after anything illegal he does, anything authoritarian his government does. Right? It's about getting rid of all the agency heads and the agency inspectors. Remember, the people at the agencies that inspect whether the agency is breaking the law, he fired them all. He's threatening judges, and they're threatening to remove judges who hold Trump accountable. They are going after everything in the law that would possibly be able to stop Donald Trump. And finally, the media. They're threatening. They've sued the media. They sued CBS News for like $20 billion. Billion, by the way. $20 billion because Trump didn't like a broadcast they did. He didn't like, and this is the favorite part, Trump didn't like the way they edited an interview with Kamala Harris. He didn't accuse them of like slandering him. He didn't like the way they edited the interview with Kamala Harris, so he sued them for 20 billion with a B dollars, which is equal to 20 billion euros. He sued George Stephanopoulos, exactly, and Stephanopoulos settled. I mean, this is the most un-American stuff I have ever seen in my life. So taking us back to Harvard, the latest thing Trump is trying to do to Harvard this morning, his administration told Harvard they can no longer have foreign students at Harvard. Harvard has 10,000 foreign students. They're no longer allowed to teach foreigners at Harvard. Again, let's talk about this in the larger observation here, okay? One, they're trying to destroy Harvard. Two, having foreign students come to America and get educated, they come here, they live here for 4 years, they learn our way of life, they meet our people, they end up loving America. That is soft power projection, it's called in politics and international relations. That is like actually a very good thing for the country in the long term. It's good economically, because again, the best and brightest people, bring them to America. Right? It's about stealing the best and brightest minds, really, right? We want the best people because if they come here, maybe they'll stay here. Maybe they'll come back, right? And at the very least, they'll love our country and they will love our people and they will want to help us in the future when they become higher up people in their governments, for example, right? You become high up in the government in your country and you went to school at Harvard, you went to school in America, you like America. I mean, I went to school in France. It works. It works, right? Having people study in your country or live in your country, it makes you like them. It, generally speaking, makes you like them more. So now they're trying to basically stop Harvard from having, and the government can do it because the government has to like approve of Harvard having foreign students. Guys, they're trying to destroy Harvard. They're trying to destroy American universities. They've already threatened other schools. They're going after other universities next. They're doing this to Harvard, by the way. And this is, again, part of the Soviet playbook, the Russian playbook. It's part of the communist Chinese playbook. They're making an example of Harvard so every other university gets scared. Every other university says, I don't want you to take away my foreign students. I don't want you to take away my federal money. I don't want you to take away my tax status, which is going to cost me billions of dollars a year. So I'm just going to do what Big Brother wants. And the final point here is, tell me how it benefits America for us to destroy our top universities. Tell me how it benefits America for us to no longer have foreigners come here to study. I mean, this is literally harming America. This is hurting our country. It's hurting us economically. It's hurting us politically. It's hurting us culturally. And these guys don't care. And that is, and now think of the tariffs. Think of all the other issues Trump is working on, right? On the economy, he doesn't care that he's causing inflation and that he's causing a recession, which a lot of people are now predicting. He doesn't care, right? He doesn't care on this front. He doesn't care what he's doing to business. He doesn't care what he's doing to the stock market. Doesn't care what he's doing to your 401k, right? In this case, doesn't care that he's harming American schools. I mean, this is just a voice of America, right? They got rid of the sort of American propaganda organs that we use to basically spread America's message around the world. They got rid of foreign aid that we used to help starving children in Africa, people with AIDS in Africa again. And the reason we had foreign aid, as I told you guys before, the whole reason American foreign aid was set up was to counter the Soviet Union. It wasn't because we're good people. I mean, I like to think we're good people. I thought we were good people, but that wasn't why. The reason you give foreign aid, it is all part of politics. It's about basically convincing people in other countries to like you. You know, they got American food, they got American prescriptions, right? You know, they got American AIDS medicines, and all of a sudden they like Americans, and their government likes Americans, and their government starts doing business with Americans, and their government starts favoring American business over European businesses, right? Or Russian or Chinese businesses. Or the American Defense Department is planning on launching a war. They're planning on bombing some country, and they'd like to use your military base in that country where we've given a lot of aid and a lot of food and a lot of medicine. Wouldn't you please let us use your military base so we can attack somebody else? Oh, country we gave a lot of food and medicine to. That is why these programs exist. Again, they're soft power, it's called in politics. This is what I studied in graduate school, but I've also worked on for a lot over the last 40 years. This is what Donald Trump is harming. It makes no sense what they're doing by getting rid of our aid programs, by getting rid of all of the things we've talked about. And again, by trying to destroy America's top universities. This is insane what they're doing, guys. And it is incredibly dangerous. Speaking of the Internal Revenue Service, we found out today that a top Trump administration official weighed in with the IRS, which is our tax agency, to try to help one of Trump's friends. Again, totally illegal. He was trying to help Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell is this top Trump friend who's a bit of a goofball. He is a pillow manufacturer and is a little woo-woo in the head. Believes a lot of the conspiracy theories about the elections and stuff like that. Thank you, Marsha, for the gift there. And the top Trump official weighed in with the Internal Revenue Service and sent a letter and said, Mike Lindell thinks you've been auditing him because you're being mean. I'd like you to review that. And top officials at the Internal Revenue Service said they perceived it as an effort to basically browbeat, to basically push the Internal Revenue Service not to audit Trump's friends. Yeah, that's nice. All right, what else we got here? Oh my God, this was another horrible story. This story's crazy. I mean, again, you think everything else was crazy? Listen to this story. This was on the local news in Utah. So there's a school in Utah called Brigham Young University. It's probably the paramount Mormon school in the U.S. You guys know who the Mormons are. They're this religious group, kind of a minority religious group, very Republican, very powerful. They're based in Utah, but they're also Salt Lake City, but they're also in a lot of the Western states, meaning they have a very strong representation in a lot of the Western states. And Brigham Young is their premier university. There is a researcher at Brigham Young, a Japanese guy. His name is, let me pull this up, Suguru Onda. He has a wife and 5 kids. I'm thinking this guy's a Mormon, to be honest. He has a wife and 5 kids. He's Japanese. He comes to do his PhD at Brigham Young University, brings his wife, brings his 5 kids. Okay. He's in his 4th year of 5 years to do his PhD. He's now being deported. Do you know why he was deported? The Trump administration, the Doge people are using AI to find out what they can about immigrants here. And if they find you did anything wrong, they're kicking you out. Guess what the Japanese PhD candidate, who appears to be a Mormon, right, with 5 children and a wife going to a Mormon school, guess what he did that got him kicked out of the country? 6 years ago, he caught too many fish on a church trip. He went fishing with his church group. And the church group, probably Mormon, I'm assuming, because it was there. His church group he was with caught more fish than their fishing license said they were supposed to catch. That's what he did. His church group, his Mormon church, he goes fishing. Think about this too. He goes fishing with his church group. Okay. This is the kind of guy we're talking about. I mean, I'm not that religious. Okay. But a guy who goes fishing with a guy with a wife and 5 kids, who goes to kind of a religious school, who goes fishing with his church group, is not typically the kind of person I think of as public enemy number 1. He's not really the kind of guy I think, oh, there's somebody I don't want in my country, right? Typically, you'd look at that and go, he sounds pretty nice. They're deporting him because he caught too many fish on a church group fishing trip. You know? I mean, what do you do? What do you do with this? And again, Japanese, like now the Japanese are bad too, according to the Trump people. The Japanese, I mean, I don't believe anybody's bad from any country, but Japan? Like Japan? When did the Japanese? It's not like we have a huge number of Japanese immigrants. The Japanese are not crossing our border illegally, right? We don't have a problem in America with Japanese immigrants. So why are they afraid of Japanese immigrants. I just it boggles my mind. And again, let me take this back to what I said earlier about what Trump's doing to Harvard, what Trump is doing to our rule of law in this country, what Trump's doing to other foreigners, what he's doing to our investments. Trump is doing everything he can to convince people around the world that we are a bad place, we are a bad country, and you should not come here and you should not bring your money here, is the message that they're sending. That is an incredibly dangerous message for our country. We want people to bring money here. We want people to come here as tourists. We want them to come here as students. We want them to come here as business people. We want them to bring their business here. We want them to bring their investments here. We want people to buy treasury bonds and American stocks. And we're telling them that you can't trust this country. If you're a foreigner right now, and I got asked this by a friend in Australia the other day, if you're a foreigner right now, I cannot in good conscience recommend you come to America. I cannot say that you would be safe coming to America at this point if you're not an American. Even as an American, I would start to become worried about having problems coming back into the country, I think. As a foreigner, there is no way I would visit my country right now. At the very least, you should expect that your cell phone will be examined and they will go through your text messages and your address book and your emails. If you want them to do that, I wouldn't, any country that did that to me, I would say, you know what? I'm going to go to Canada instead, right? Or I'm going to go somewhere else instead, right? But there's no way in hell I would visit a country that does that. And we are telling people not to invest in our stocks, not to invest in our bonds, not to invest in our businesses, that if you come to our country, you might get arrested. If you come to our country, we're going to search your phone. If you come to our country to study, we're going to deport you, right? If you come to our country and put money here, we're going to put tariffs, so you can't really trust doing business here. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, PPF. I mean, and this is what I'm saying, like on every level, he is destroying the image and the reputation of our country. And I don't know how you get that back, right? I mean, once somebody, this is a turn on the Maya Angelou's quote was always, believe someone the first time they tell you who they are. I'm mixing up her quote, but her quote was basically, believe someone the first time. When someone, maybe that was it. When someone tells you who they are, believe them, right? Thank you, More Wings. Who was that, Bowie? Thank you, right? When someone tells you who they are, believe them. You can't get that back, right? It's sort of like dating or something. When someone betrays you, good luck getting that back because now you know who they are. And our country is betraying you economically, culturally, politically, right? The rule of law. How do you get that back? Thank you, Adventures. How do you convince people that America, thank you. Okay, Madonna Bear pulled up the quote. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. There you go. I was close. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But I would put the corollary to that is, after someone shows you who they are, good luck changing their mind, right? And I don't know how we convince people that in the future, Americans will obey the law. In the future, we won't play games with the stock market and ruin your investments. In the future, we won't tariff the hell out of you and destroy your industries if you trade with us. In the future, we won't let you study 4 years for a PhD and kick you out, with 1 year to go on your PhD, right? In the future, we won't do that. Sure, we won't, right? Thank you, Maylin, right? Sure, we won't. Yeah, exactly. It's called brain drain. As Miss Mikwak just said, it's called brain drain. Brain drain, and ironically, brain drain is a concept of developing countries. Brain drain is the concept that when a country is problematic, and like imagine a developing country where there's a lot of poverty, a lot of economic turmoil, political turmoil, coup d'etat, governments get overthrown. It's dangerous living there. And then you go and you study in London, you study in Paris, you study in New York, and you go, oh my God, I love it here. And you start to say, you know what? This is a better life, right? You can buy stuff. I mean, there's stuff to buy, let alone maybe you won't get hurt on the street, right? And what happens is the best and brightest at these of these countries are the ones able to travel. And when they travel, they like what they see abroad more than what they see at home. and they don't go home. And it's called brain drain because it drains the best brains from the country. And it's called brain drain. We are now at risk of having that here in this country because of what Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing. It's very scary. It's very scary stuff. Thank you for the birthday cake. Who is that? Oh, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. Yeah, cute Bingo. You're leaving us. Bingo's leaving us now. Bye, Bingo. That was cute. The best part is I'm the only one who can read that. Nobody can even read that. Mods, Bingo's getting blocked. Like, just block him. Just block him. So what else we got? What else we got? Final story before we get to Ukraine. This was a really nasty story too. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski gave a really scary talk today about the Republican Party and fascism, really. She's a Republican United States Senator. Listen to this. Lisa Murkowski, moderate. I love that the New York Times calls her moderate. Lisa Murkowski is not a moderate. Lisa Murkowski is a mainstream conservative Republican. She's not crazy. She's not MAGA, but she's not a moderate Republican. She's not like a liberal. In the old days, moderate Republican meant liberal Republican. She's not a liberal Republican. She's very middle of the road. Lisa Murkowski made a startling admission about the reality of serving in public office at a time when Donald Trump is president. Quote, "We are all afraid," Murkowski said, speaking at a conference in Anchorage, Alaska on Monday. This is her speaking. "It's quite a statement, but we are in a time and a place where I certainly have not been here before. I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice because retaliation is real, and that's not right." She's talking about being afraid as a United States Senator to stand up and disagree with Donald Trump because of, quote, retaliation. Now, other members of Congress, other Republican members of Congress have said, this was during the first Trump term, that they literally received threats against their lives and their families when they disagreed publicly with Donald Trump. And that was the first administration, which was the nice Trump administration, right? Versus the one we've got now. All right. We've got enough little Ukraine. I'm going to switch to Ukraine news. Actually, you know what we'll do? We'll do our usual, maybe a minute or so hanging out right now with you guys. Let's talk about this news that we just talked about, and then we'll switch to Ukraine. So any comments on what we just talked about or whatever? I mean, I'm sure you've all got a lot of thoughts about this, right? Federal judges are being threatened. Now, interestingly, federal judges have been threatened for years by Republicans. 20 years ago, there was a Supreme Court justice who basically spoke out against the Republicans. It was a Republican justice. It was one of the women, actually. I think it was Sandra Day O'Connor, who spoke out as a Republican justice against Republicans and said, stop threatening the courts, stop demonizing the courts because they were getting death threats. And I think a judge remember the judge either got killed or there was an attack on a judge in Georgia, I want to say, maybe 20 years ago or so. Very scary stuff. Well, the only woman, I guess, back then with the Republican, but yeah. Anyway, anything? Otherwise, we'll go and Asta, thank you for that. The Japanese guy is being deported. I don't think he's being jailed, although he may be in jail pending deportation. That I wouldn't be surprised. So, all right. All right, you know what? I think we're going to go. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to do the Ukraine news, and then we will sit and talk about all of this, all right? Let's do the Ukraine news. It is day 1,146 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. French President Macron hosted a pivotal ceasefire discussion today in Paris with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Trump's Ukraine envoy, who's the pro-Putin guy, Steve Witkoff, and Ukrainian officials. The talks were reportedly excellent, according to the French. The idea behind these talks, I was reading more about it today. Supposedly, keep the gifts coming, guys, by the way. Thank you. I did just see that birthday cake. Thank you. I do this for a living. Your gifts pay my bills, so I appreciate it. I haven't been able to thank you enough today because I've been reading. I wanted to really get through that stuff, but I do see them, so thank you. Cool. Is that Josh? It is. Oh no, it was Josh. Thank you, Josh. For the under control. It looked like records flying around. Thank you, Desi. Thank you, Jen. We were trying to figure out what Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, was doing in France. supposedly they're trying to get the Europeans involved in the process. I'm not sure what that means. Thank you, JPT. I don't think the Trump administration has any desire to get the Europeans involved in the process. I think what they realize is the Europeans and Europe may have done it smart. Like Europe kind of sat back and didn't say anything when Trump's been attacking them and Trump's been taking the lead on Ukraine. Well, the Russians are ignoring Trump, right? Trump's proposed this ceasefire a month ago. Ukraine said, okay. And then what happened, right? Then what happened? Then the Russians ignored it and said, we're not going to do it. And Trump is kind of sitting there now going, right? Hey, Edsel, is kind of, oh, that crab drives me. That crab freaks me out a little bit, actually. Thanks, Jen. But it's weird. It's always like, because it looks real. It's like this thing climbing on me. I just think it's interesting that the Trump administration now thinks they've got to, thank Andy and Heather, that they've got to basically woo the Europeans now. I think that's interesting. We'll just leave it at that. This was interesting. So Trump backed off today criticizing Zelensky. He's been criticizing Zelensky all week and blaming him for the war and all this kind of crap. Trump today said he doesn't hold Zelensky responsible for the war in Ukraine, but says, I'm not a big fan. Okay, hold on. For this, we need our hair. He said, I don't hold Zelensky responsible, but I'm not exactly thrilled with the fact that the war started, he said at the White House. And so I'm not happy with him, and I'm not happy with anybody involved. He added, I'm not blaming him, but what I'm saying is that I wouldn't say he's done the greatest job, okay? I'm not a big fan. He adds, there's no way Putin would have, and then of course he throws in the usual bullshit. He added, there's no way Vladimir Putin would have invaded Ukraine if I'd been president, and now I'm trying to stop this all. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, there's a reason Putin might not have invaded Ukraine if Trump was president, because you don't buy the cow when you get the milk for free. It's a very good, it's a wonderful quote. I'll say it again. You don't buy the cow when you get the milk for free. Right? There's no reason for Putin to invade Ukraine if Trump was already willing to give him Ukraine. So yeah. Also, Trump forgets that Putin had already invaded Ukraine by the time Trump was elected president. So that's also the other problem. All right, a little bit more here. Trump, actually, this is interesting. Trump says he expects to hear from Russia this week on the ceasefire. That should be funny. This I thought was funny from Sky News. I'm going to read this to you from Sky News because I read this and I went, are European leaders really this naive? I really mean this. Like, I read this stuff and it worries me about Europe because I've said before, and I think you guys get it, but like when I say you guys need to wake up, I mean your leadership. If European leaders are still not understanding what Donald Trump is doing or why Donald Trump is doing it, oh, thank you for that. Who is the kitty? Thank you, Bowie, for the kitty. Thank you, witches, as well, for the gifts. If European leaders are still going, gosh, Donald Trump's actions are surprising us, then you're really not paying attention, especially with regards to Russia. Nothing Donald Trump does with Russia should surprise you. If he's being too pro-Russian, it should not surprise you at this point. Listen to this. This was Sky News. I don't blame Sky News for this, but listen to this. Bewildered European leaders have been wondering what on earth is going on. Sky News' Europe correspondent Adam Parsons says U.S. officials will be under pressure today in France as they sit down with European leaders. He says there's a certain amount of tension after EU leaders and diplomats have spent the last few months feeling pretty frozen out and pretty bewildered over the U.S. approach to achieving peace in Ukraine. Quote, the European Union has spent the last few months wondering what on earth is going on, he says. He adds there are concerns that America has let Russia off lightly and is too wary of upsetting Moscow. I mean, I hate to sort of use the internet trope because there is an internet trope. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, PDF. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. But there's sort of this trope on the internet where people go, you're only figuring that out now. And it's sort of an obnoxious thing people use, and it's kind of sloppy and lazy. But in this case, it might just apply. Thank you for the chicken, Tony. It might just apply that, like, European leaders are shocked and bewildered. You're bewildered. First of all, you're bewildered that Donald Trump is sucking up to Putin and doesn't want to anger Putin. You're bewildered. Like, how are you not prepared for this? right? Then again, maybe the Sky News analysis is off. Maybe this reporter got it. I'm hoping this reporter got it wrong. I'm hoping there's no European leader who goes, gosh, I just don't understand what Trump is doing. I understand exactly what Trump is doing. Yeah. Okay, good. A lot of the Europeans are at least weighing in and saying, no one's bewildered. Good, good. Because this is very dangerous stuff that's going on. And again, like I've said, he is not your friend. He will never be your friend. And you need to treat him accordingly. You know, that's a new article. No, it's a new article. It's just their reporter. I read it and I went, really? It's from today. It's from today. A little bit more here. Zelensky and Trump both say a memorandum of intent will be signed this week about the mineral deal. This is the deal for America to basically extort half of Ukraine's minerals, maybe their gas and oil too. Supposedly, a memorandum of intent is going to be signed this week on it tomorrow. Now, memorandum of intent doesn't necessarily mean they've agreed to anything. Memorandum of intent can simply say, oh, we intend to sign a wonderful mineral deal, but it doesn't spell what the details are. So let's see. I will say that I was thinking about it again today, and I still feel, okay, I'm not thrilled about the fact that my country seems to be fleecing Ukraine and taking advantage of them and stealing their wealth. Don't love that. I do agree that if Donald Trump, via the US, but Donald Trump gets an interest in these mines, he's going to be really pissed if Putin invades, right? Or if Putin gets even near the mines, right? If Putin bombs those mines, if Putin gets near if Putin threatens those mines in any way, Trump is going to be really pissed. That is beneficial to Ukraine. The next American president should take that agreement and rip it up potentially. Having said that, it does put Putin in a weird position, having to invade and basically try to take over all these lands that the Americans are part owners in. Maybe part owner might be too strong of a word. Part beneficiary, that maybe the Americans have an ownership right in the profits. If not, they may not own the mine, but they would have an ownership right in the profits of the mines, right? It is an interesting point. Thank you, Amy, for the gift. It's an interesting point that could be beneficial to Ukraine. I still think we're extorting and fleecing them and cheating them, but it could be to their benefit having some American financial interest in their country. Yes. I'm trying to find a silver lining here. What is it? This was a weird story. We don't have any details on it yet. Ukraine has signed a memorandum of intent with the United States to establish an economic partnership and investment fund for reconstruction of Ukraine after the war. I think what that is, come on. I think what that is, as I was just saying, an attempt by Ukraine to kind of rope in Donald Trump to say, if you can make this a lasting peace, you can help us rebuild. Lots of your companies can come in and build lots of things. Well, if American companies and American contractors are all over Ukraine, it's going to be very hard for the Russians to bomb again anytime soon. And that's what Zelensky is thinking. I think Zelensky's literally thinking, and this is kind of not really stupid. You know how the Ukrainians want American and foreign and European troops all over Ukraine to stop the Russians from invading again? In a way, don't you achieve the same goal by having a bunch of American contractors all over the country? Think about it. American businessmen and businesswomen all over the country, including a lot of Donald Trump's friends. I would want Donald Trump's friends' businesses especially, have them all over Ukraine. So if the Russians bomb, if they invade, if they do anything, they wipe out a bunch of Donald Trump's friends, Donald Trump's businesses, right? American businesses. And it's the same impact you would have if there were American troops there, that there would be a fear of attacking because you would end up harming Americans. It's again, I don't like what they're doing to Ukraine, but it's an interesting way of Ukraine getting the security guarantees it wants, but isn't getting from the U.S. Anyway, just something to think about. Let me see. Thank you for the confetti. Who was that? That wasn't Marsha. No, that was Marsha. That was Kim. Thank you, Marsha, as well, though. Thank you, Kim. Zelensky publicly accused China of supplying artillery and gunpowder to Russia today. He claimed that Chinese nationals are involved in weapon production on Russian territory. That would be a big deal if true. Oh, there were more meaningless threats by the Russians against the Germans today, which kind of made me laugh. Hold on, I've got to. Oops. Oh, that's why. Hold on a second. 1 second. That's what the problem is. Hold on. My curtains are too. There we go. I was wondering what was going on. 1 moment. That's a little warm. All right. Hold on. I think that's okay. Sorry, my curtain is open and there we go. It's funny. My curtain had a little crack in it and the sunlight was hitting my thermostat and all of a sudden it got cold in here. Don't you hate that when like the sun just hits the thermostat? Even though the curtains are closed, it was just enough that all of a sudden the AC kicked on and I was like, ugh. So I just turned off the AC, but that was like, ugh. Anyway, yes, no. So the Russians today, I love the Russians when they make these kind of threats. The Russians today threatened the Germans that because the new German government's coming in soon and the new German chancellor has been very supportive potentially of providing Taurus cruise missiles to the Ukrainians, some German cruise missiles that are a really good deal. And the Russians said today, if the Germans provide the cruise missiles to Ukraine, they're going to be directly involved in the war. And everybody else went, yeah, the French and the Brits already gave cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. And so I guess they've been involved in the war for 2 years now, 2.5 years. And who cares? Right. Thanks, Eamon. Like, who cares? Right. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, ooh, scary. You'll be involved in the war. Yeah. Even the same way the French and the Brits are for years and nothing bad ever happens to them. You don't threaten them. I mean, you threaten them, but you don't do anything. And so is the US. Exactly. Like that's why I always tell you, I always laugh when the Russians make threats. And I laugh at the Russians for making their threats because they're meaningless and they're dumb. And it's just, but I love that. Like, oh, be very afraid, Germany, because we haven't done anything to France or Britain and we won't do anything to you. Anyway, deep. The Czech Republic is independent of Russian oil for the first time in their history. That's good. And Italy says it will meet NATO's 2% of GDP defense spending target, which is very good too. All right, I'm going to adjust my camera. This is the part of the show I get to sit back a little bit. Oops. And let my back, although my back has been very good, so knock on wood. I've been having, sorry. There we go. Oops, there we go. Is that good? That's good. Okay. Anyway, yes, but I still like to sit, even though my back's been much better. My pinched nerve in my back has been much better. It is getting better. I'm shocked, but it took a while, but it's getting better. Oh, man. Newsom, I don't know the Newsom lawsuit. I saw something about California suing Trump or whatever, but I don't know anything about it. What's it? I mean, I can Google it and see, but what's it about? Callum was actually telling me about it, but I don't know what it's about. Your back is so bad you're in tears today? Mine pinched nerve, but it didn't hurt. Well, it did hurt actually pretty badly, but they did the steroid injection and it worked slowly, but it worked well. I'm still getting little tingling, but the pain's gone. The back improved by getting steroid injections in my spine. I mean, kind of scary stuff. But it worked. It took time, but it worked. So for now, it's much better. So, anyway, it's about illegal tariff. It's about tariffs. Oh, Callum did say tariffs. That's right. He did tell me it was about tariffs. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I don't know about it. Yep. Meloxicam made a big difference for me as well. Actually, that was the other thing that made a huge difference. It's risky. It's got, some issues with it, but for me, at least 3 months on meloxicam helped a lot. So anyway, what else? Denmark is going to send troops for drone warfare training in Ukraine. Oh, that's good. Oh, I did see that. Shoot. I saw some story today about Denmark sending like unarmed troops or something like that. Yeah. And then I like, there was some other Trump outrage and I forgot about it. Thank you for mentioning that. See, Andre. Oh, what else? Thank you, Polly, for the squirrel. Appreciate that. Oh, I love that relaxed goose, Omar. Or I consider it a boneless goose, but it's still pretty cool. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, Shawnee. That really sucks though with your back. Yeah. Yeah, meloxicam, you just have to be careful. I think it's a black box warning and it can mess up with your intestines and all sorts of scary stuff. But um, but it did wonders. I think it did wonders for my spine and my nerves. It seemed when I went off, it got worse and it got better. So I'm off it now. But I don't have back pain. I don't have back pain now. I had pinched nerve pain that now the injections calmed down. What happened with the foreigners that Elon wanted to bring into the country? Oh, that's a good point. That's really funny. I think that sort of got ignored for now, didn't it? Thank you for the money gun. Who was that? Find out. Thank you. Find out. Thank you, Reggie. I'm interesting. Thank you. I try to be interesting. No, I'm kidding you. Thank you. I do think like I happen to like our show. So yes, I do try to I've got a long background in politics and stuff, and I do try to sort of bring um, an inside analysis of what's going on as somebody who's worked in Washington here for 40 years, 38 years. I guess I was in New York for 2 years, but still. But yeah. Um anyway, enough of the back stuff. I don't want to bore everybody with our discussions on back pain. Um thank you, Dave, for the gift. Thank you, Canada Zen. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. Everyone's thanking me for the show. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Is America cash poor? I'm not sure. What do you mean, Johan or Yuan, depending where you're from? In what sense? You mean American citizens or the government or what? I'm not sure what you mean. Thank you, Dave. Coalition of the Willing, Cabby or Cable. That is the if by Coalition of the Willing you mean sort of, well, it depends. First of all, they're using different names now. I'm not sure who is the Coalition of the Willing anymore. The French and the Brits are talking about bringing some troops to Ukraine to kind of to well, they're claiming it's not to separate Ukrainian and Russian troops, but I think it's still meant to have troops there to sort of, oh, you want more water? The dog wants more water. It's confusing to me as to what the point is of having these troops there, to be honest. Um, uh, so I'm not sure what the Europeans want. One sec here. All right, dog. All right. Yeah, I'm just not sure what the point is because the Europeans keep saying, "Oh, they're not there to separate the Ukrainians and the Russians." Then what exactly are they doing there? I don't quite get it. So anyway, um, so the Coalition of the Willing is the French and British troops. Okay, perfect example. Then they keep saying, "Oh, but they won't be there to separate the Ukrainian and the Russian troops." Then what are they doing there? My suspicion is they're trying to downplay their role, but they kind of put it this way. Maybe they're not there to separate Ukrainian and Russian troops, but they are there to be in key military locations and key cities and key places so that if the Russians attack, they will kill British and French troops and they'll be at war. That's my guess. That's my guess. Right? That's my guess. What else? Oh, I saw that, but I didn't see what was his idiotic statement. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's, our head of all health in America, thanks to Donald Trump, and a real mess. He's anti-vaccine for starters, but he made some horrible comment about autistic people. And I want to see, well, first of all, he's claiming he's one of these people that claims that autism comes from vaccines. There's zero proof that autism comes from vaccines. Some people think it. I mean, some people think it's caused by that, but that doesn't make it so, right? But then he made some obnoxious comment in the last day about autistic people. Hold on a second. What was his quote? Hold on. I'm trying to pull up the Washington Post article. Okay, tell me. Stop it. Oh, stop it. Okay, come on. Let me pull this up. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is a problem. I'm going to give a little lecture here about media. The Washington Post is trying to be politically correct and not repeat what Kennedy said about autistic people. It was so bad what he said, they're not going to repeat it. Well, So I'm reading the story and it doesn't say what he said. And the dog just found one of her toys and it scared her. You guys just saw it. It kind of scared her. She jumped back. It was very funny. Me jump a second there. But Robert F. Kennedy, one of Trump's top health official in this country, publicly said horrific things about people with autism. And American press isn't going to quote it because it would be mean to quote it to people that are with autism. Then it's not an outrage because I don't know what he said. I can't be outraged if I can't read what he said. And it is exactly what Carol just said. The media is protecting him. When you sit there and you protect, when you don't report on an outrage and tell people what was said, you cleanse what was said. You make it more palatable. You're making me, right? You say, well, he said something bad. Well, what I'm thinking in my head is, right, what's your first concept? Your first concept was going to be, well, did he say something bad or did he say something that the liberals didn't like, right? That's what people are going to say. I mean, and then even worse, it links to his comments. It links to a C-SPAN video that's probably like 3 hours long. They link to some freaking video. I don't want to watch a 3-hour video to try to find his comments. This is really pissing me off. I mean, this is just incredibly dangerous stuff. This is not the way you cover the news. Hold on a second. I mean, it's not the way you cover the news. Son of a bitch. Okay, hold it. Here we go. Now it's coming up. Okay. Autistic people and their loved ones have swiftly and publicly rejected statements by Robert F. Kennedy. Well, he summarizes the nation's top health official that people with autism will never play baseball, date, pay taxes, or have a job. Ew. Okay, ew. I mean, for starters, like, Elon Musk is part autistic, isn't he? He has a job, although I don't know that Elon is exactly the guy you want to point to as your model for autistic people doing good jobs. Fair enough. But, right, on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, autistic people detailed the jobs they hold and how many years they've paid taxes. Parents posted photos of their autistic children in baseball uniforms. That's good. Family members of severely disabled autistic children also pushed back, saying Kennedy was disparaging children who need more support. Good for them. Good for them. Well, no, Elon, let's face it, Elon, who knows what's up with Elon, to be honest. But that's true. Elon may... Beachcomber says, well, Elon doesn't really pay taxes. That's true. Elon may not pay taxes, but right. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I heard he had offended autistic people, but I didn't hear, and their families, I didn't hear exactly what he said. Wow. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. What else we got, guys? Peter May had a serious fall. One of his guys, he had kind of a scary video yesterday. That kid's going to hurt himself. Kind of worries me. Watch. It's a guy on TikTok, but I fear he's going to hurt himself one of these days. Exactly. A reason not to pay taxes. Exactly, Shane. Just send a letter, say autistic. RFK said I didn't have to pay. Well, Elon, yeah, we know Elon's issues. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, what else? Yeah, Elon's self-diagnosed. If he's self-diagnosed, then I'm not going to trust him, obviously. He's like Trump on stuff. I don't think we have learned over the years that things Elon says are not necessarily true because he says them. And Donald Trump, they're especially not true when Trump says them. And yes, the rhetoric is very dehumanizing. They don't care. I mean, you're right, but they don't care. What else, guys? What else? Oh, God. Sorry, the dog has been really waking. I don't know what to do. She's literally about an hour before I get up now. She goes and she barks at the door like she's got to go out or something. And it's a fake. She wants me to feed her. And I'm ready to kill her. And I don't know how to break her, but it's like an hour before I get up, I'm now waking up an hour early. And I don't get up and do it. But at that point, she's pissed me off and woken me up. And I'm like, oh. But I swear to God, I'm going to get a squirt gun. And I'm going to absolutely drench her if she does this to me again. What, ask ChatGPT what to do about my dog? I guess I could. That's an interesting idea. That's true. She could get an auto feeder. That's true. You're right. I didn't think of that for the morning. Actually, for the morning, that's true. Although the morning, I'm guessing she's also going to eat her food, and then she's going to want her treat, and then she's going to wake me up for the treat or for her water or whatever. But you're right. I could potentially get an auto feeder, but I feel like I'm just playing into her bullshit. Traumatic. She's a spoiled brat, is what's going on. Yeah, a shock collar. A shock collar is more like it. Yeah. Yeah. No, she's a spoiled brat. Anyway. But yeah, she'll want her treat. The interesting idea on the food, though, you're right. If the food could, I hate to give her the auto feeder at 8:00. Just you're right. The auto feeder, I hear, you know, pisses me off. Anyway, um, what else? Leave her alone. She's waking me up early. I'm exhausted. Um, exactly. Somebody goes, get a second auto feeder for the treat. Exactly. I'll have one for the food and then a second one 5 minutes later for the treat. Exactly. I don't think this is the time change. She's just being a little biatch, basically. This is her being her usual over-intelligent self. She figured out that I would take her out and afterwards she'd eat. So now which wasn't even what we did, actually. She wouldn't eat after we went out. I don't know why but somehow she learned that. So now she just has to like fake go out. Thank you, Flying Medic, for subscribing over on YouTube. Anyway, what else? What else, guys? Oh my God, I'm tired. Anyway, that's why I'm particularly tired lately. She's a prima donna, but she does look half her age, which exactly. We'll give her credit for that, Fred. I'm calling you Fred Fields. Oh man, she's a queen. She is a queen. Speaking of which, I don't know if I have the photo here. I think I do. If not, it's on my Twitter feed. I had never fully seen what Trump did with the Oval Office. I did. Oh, thank you for the fire. I'm trying not to. I can't help yawning. I'm exhausted. But thank you, Russell, for the fire. Trump, I never got the full view. Oh, come on. Where is it? Where is it? Shoot. I think I sent it to my nephew. Otherwise, I put it on Twitter. No. Yes, I sent it to my nephew. I never got a full view. This is him with the Italian prime minister today. Look at what he did to the Oval Office. Look at all the stuff on the walls. He made everything gold, but also that crap above the fireplace. It's not only a bunch of ugly gold things my mom would roll over in her grave. They're separated perfectly, which you never do with stuff. But I mean, guys, the chairs are gold. All the painting frames have been changed to gold. The little thing above the fire is gold. I mean, look at this. It's baby Liberace is what it is. I do not understand how he gets away with this. This is the kind of stuff. Look at it. The lamps are gold. I mean, the lamps are freaking gold. I'm going to show you this again. You can see the lamps. He changed everything to make it gold. First of all, taxpayer paid for that. Second of all, if a Democratic man had decorated the White House, and frankly, Trump's apartment looks the same way in New York, it did. If a Democratic man president decorated his apartment and the White House to look like Liberace decorated it, and you'd have to go Google, if you're not familiar with Liberace, it's hard for me to tell you. It's a mixture between Saddam Hussein and Liberace, a Middle Eastern dictator and one of the most famous gay men in America. You would be destroyed if you decorated the White House like this as a Democratic man. You would be destroyed. And frankly, the Middle Eastern dictator is not the problem. Trump is American. He's not Middle Eastern. In America, this decorating is something Liberace would do. I have to be careful how I say these things. I'm gay, but I have to be careful how I say these things. That's Liberace decorating. Republicans love to go after Democrats on things like that. A Democratic man who liked gold everywhere would be shamed publicly if a Democratic man did that and had gold, everything gold. Again, you would be shamed. and they get away with it because our guys refuse to bring it up. I have a whole theory on Trump on this stuff that, again, TikTok won't let me get into, I'm sure, so I won't do it. But it's pretty freaking, that guy, Donald Trump. Again, any straight Democratic president who talked like this and wore too much makeup and decorated his place like that would be attacked by Republicans left and right. The Republicans would destroy him if he did something like that, if a Democrat did something like that. But oh well. But yeah, I saw that today and I went, oh my God, like, what is he doing? It's horrible. I mean, those things on the mantle. And my mom always said, you don't separate things perfectly. Stop it. Don't put things up in a row on the mantle. She's like, don't do it. Oh God, horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, Melania. Exactly. That's true. We have Melania to look forward to at Christmas. That's going to be fun. Remember last time she cut down the garden. She cut down the garden that Jackie Kennedy built and then put up a bunch of like, oh God, where's the horror show? She put up like a bunch of black and red Christmas trees or something that were like something out of Edward Scissorhands or whatever. Hold on this. Melania Trump White House Christmas. I'm going to say horror because that'll probably bring it up. There we go. This was Melania's weird. Here we go. This was Melania's weird Christmas thing she did several years ago in the White House. She put up a bunch of red Christmas trees and everybody was like, what the hell is that? And the worst part was everyone looked at it and said, it's The Handmaid's Tale, which was very funny, but it was like totally true. It's like, oh my God, it's The Handmaid's Tale. Look at that. It's their little outfits. I mean, like, she does that, but she wiped out Jackie Kennedy's garden. She took out the garden, literally cut it down. The garden that Jackie Kennedy planted in the 1960s. Melania Trump didn't like it anymore. So she cut it out. I mean, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. Man. Oh. All right. Boom, boom, and boom. There you go. Just horrible. Jackson's magnolia tree. What, did Andrew Jackson have a magnolia? What else? Anything else, guys, or what? Nate, you ask that every night. Why do you ask that every night? Just because it feels trolly, which is the only reason I'm like reticent about answering you. But every night you ask that about this time, it seems a little weird. Like, nobody's winning. It's a quagmire. We didn't want the Ukrainians to win, and the Russians are stuck as well. So it's a quagmire. Katy Perry, I think it's great. Katy Perry I talked about this before. I thought it was great. Katy Perry went to space. I think it's great. I like people going to space. I like space, space travel. I like science. Anything that gets, Katy Perry's got like 115 million Twitter followers. Her going to space will get 115 million kids excited and maybe some gay men too. But right, like that's great. I think that's fabulous. I think it's absolutely fabulous. So. Yeah, but I don't care. Honestly, I mean, Gunther says a bunch of 1%ers went to space. Well, you know what? If the garbage man went to space, I don't think it would influence as many people. Katy Perry is going to influence a hell of a lot more people into being supportive of the space program, science, and everything else. The garbage man is not, right? The guy working at the corner store, him going to space is not going to inspire a lot of people. So I have no problem with her going. Again, public diplomacy, soft power. This is about projecting power. It is about winning people's minds. I want little girls to see her who like Katy Perry to say, oh my God, that could be me. Yeah. And the other women who went as well. Yes. I think there's absolutely little girl. If young girls like her music, you know, people do this every time. People get pissed that rich people go on space travel. Get over it. You really think you should be the one to go? Seriously? I mean, one of you out there thinks you would have been picked instead? Really? Like, come on, right? None of us is going to space anytime soon. It's okay, but we're not. Um, you know, so no, we should not feed the homeless. No, wrong. We already feed the homeless. That's just horrible talk. We're not going to cut science. I mean, that sounds like Trump. We're going to cut science so we can feed the homeless instead. No, I don't think so. Like, why don't we cut college grants too so we can feed the homeless? Like, that's just crazy talk. I'm sorry. Any case, why can't we do both? Because one political party doesn't want to help the homeless. That's why we can't do both. And one political party is now talking about cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and aid to the homeless and aid to our veterans and everything else. That's why we can't do it. If you have a problem with that, you might want to talk to the people who voted for Donald Trump. So that's why we can't do both. Because one party won't let us do both. So anyway, oh my God, get over it, people. They flew into space. It was cool. Who cares? I do. This is one of those things where I think people just get weirdly bent out of shape. And it's like, who cares? I mean, Jesus. Anyway. Exactly. Street rat. You're 2 inches too short. Well, I don't know. I doubt they have a height requirement for sending the famous people. Right? I doubt it. So anyway, what else, guys? I may wrap it up. I feel like we're drifting off into silliness here. So Germans send frogs and mice. Frogs and mice are nice. They're not very good ambassadors, but they're good for science. Yes. And then they die. Okay, that's worse. The dying part is probably not great, especially if you want them to be like ambassadors. Thanks, Dave. So anyway, I think the all-woman crew was not a first. There was an all-woman crew. I saw an old photo, maybe the 1990s. There was an astronaut crew of women. See if I can find it. Now that we're talking about it, see if I can find it. But it was, I saw the picture and it looked like an older photo. Let me see if I can. First all women NASA crew. Oh, interesting. Wait, it was older than I thought. The first all-female space flight since 1963? Oh, it was the first American all-female space flight. It was. Okay. Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova's solo. Oh, okay. That's not even really true. Okay. Now this is interesting though. A Soviet cosmonaut, a woman, went into space in 1963. I will give the Soviets credit for that. Sending a woman into space in 1963 was pretty ballsy. That is not something we did, right? That's actually pretty interesting. But it wasn't a space crew. It was her alone. So the first time that actually the entire crew was women, was the Americans. Now, I thought for sure that there was a picture I saw of a NASA group before. Yeah, hold on a second. Here it is. Oh, these are just the first 6 women astronauts. Okay. They're the first 6 female astronauts. They're not the. Yeah, these are the first 6 female astronauts, but they're not the first 6 crew, or the first female crew. Judy Resnick, I remember her. Sally Ride. Wow. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Well, the Russians had a cosmonaut in 1963, and it took us to like the 1980s to get women. Really? That's kind of embarrassing. Like, Jesus. All right. Well, yep. Good morning, Singapore, Fiona. My sister-in-law is from, not sister-in-law, I guess she's my niece-in-law. I keep calling her sister-in-law. My niece-in-law is from Singapore. Anyway. But Viola says they definitely sent frogs and maybe some female frogs. So who knows? More monkeys in space. No. Did you hear about the poor monkey they sent? They never got him down. I think, was it the Russian monkey? What's his face? Or the dog too? Did the dog didn't come down, or did the dog come down? That poor dog they sent up there. I doubt he came back, didn't he? Remember? The animals they sent don't kind of come back, as I recall. It's good. Yeah, the dog died. That's what I was gonna say. The dog was like the cute Leica the dog. Nobody mentions Leica's not coming home. It's terrible. It is terrible. Like, yeah. Yeah, no, it's terrible. You send a dog into space and let him die. I mean, I guess what do you do? But still, that's kind of creepy. Yeah. The dog starred in Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'd read, Luna, was they didn't have a plan for the dog to come back. Exactly. Leica was in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's funny. I've seen several Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think I got bored and stopped watching. I did used to like their little Yuri Gagarin. He was not a dog though, but yes. Anyway. Oh man, I'm tired. La 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 la. Madonna Bear. Anyway. I don't know who that is. My husband heard about the dog and said, that's not a nice thing to say. Oh, you guys are nasty to her. You are so nasty about Katy Perry. She's a singer. Oh my God. The first Soviet monkey in space? What was that? What was that animal's name? Or was that the one you were saying? Abrek? Oh, Abrek and Beyond were the two Soviet monkeys, or what? I'm surprised the Soviets didn't send political prisoners into space. Or Trump. Well, Trump may. Don't give him ideas. A monkey crew, exactly. All right, guys. We're about an hour and a half here. I think we're going to call it quits, and things are slowing down anyway. When the show starts getting slow, I don't like to drag it out too much longer. My cuttings are blooming. Oh, that's funny. Oh, they're blooming. That's funny, Dawn. Well, we are certainly over freezing here in DC. You can let me know how it looks from there, but here freezing is done. So it should be, oh yeah, but do send a picture. I'm really curious what the color looks like. Yeah. All right, Brigitte, thank you for the gift. Thank you, guys. All right, well, I'm going to get going. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for your gifts. Thank you for your support. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:00 Eastern time, US. We talk about the latest news from America. We talk about the latest news in Trump land and Ukraine. And then Saturday, remember, we have our hangout for the paid monthly subscribers on TikTok, YouTube, and Discord, Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. Join us to hang out. My thank you to you. Thank you, Jonathan, as well. Thank you, Hardly. Greek Easter is the same weekend as the American Easter. Thank you, Fallen. Kalinita to you. We say American Easter. That's how Greek Americans refer to it. But yes, our Easter is all the same. I'm not really doing anything for it. Like, oh well. But Easter is the same this weekend. But yes, I will be walking my dog to celebrate Greek Easter. That's about it. So I never liked dyeing the eggs red. I always thought that was boring. I liked having colored eggs. My mom would do the red eggs, and I was like, all right. But I found red eggs a little boring. Pretty, but they're boring. Easter pies? That sounds fun. Does the White House use real eggs? I've been to the White House Easter thing. That was fun. Our White House Easter egg hunt was fun. It was actually very fun. But we only got like one egg. There actually was some kind of ceremonial egg thing. I think it was wood or something. But we went with my friend and their son, so I gave it to her. I really wanted that egg, but I gave it to her because you only get one per ticket. So it's like, oh, well. So Brenda got my egg. What do you do? Nice souvenir for them, though. So why not? Anyway, all right, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. All right, let's sign off. All right, Discord, I'm signing off, baby. Let me, hold on a sec. There we go. All right, Discord, good to see you. With my Russian accent. Burp, 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 burp. There we go. Discord's over. YouTube, TikTok, you're next. All right, YouTube, see you guys. All right. Boom.